The way each of us see the world be affected by two things. What we know and what we believe. The first thing I knew was to be afraid of the white man. To be terrified of them carrying me away. I had two sisters carried away in chains. Could barely walk when the first one, Tsitsi, was taken. I was too young to understand how someone could just disappear. But I wasn't too young to feel my mama's grief. And it's clawed at that emptiness for as long as I can remember. And that's what shaped my fear of white men. And it ain't gone away in all my years. So you can imagine how I must feel staring out at all y'all right now. I grew up like a neglected weed, ignorant of liberty, having no experience of it. And now I've been free, I know what a dreadful condition slavery is. It's the next thing to hell. If a person would send another into bondage, he would, it appears to me, be bad enough to send him to hell if he could. But I suppose y'all share that sentiment. That's why you're here. We of like mind. What y'all really came to hear is how I defied all odds and escaped hell. To tell you how I came to be free, first you gotta understand what slavery was like for me. How it attacks the senses. The sound of it. The crack of a whip like thunder. The feel of it. Like you could barely take a full breath. The taste of it. Like all your teeth made of copper. The smell of it. The fading stench of everybody sewed away. And the look of it. Every eye turned to the ground, away from the horror. Black folk, we know pain. We've known it a long time. I got more scars on my body than I can count. Miss Susan, she gave me a lot of them. I was barely the height of those chairs you're sitting on right now when I was sent to her for the first time. The first day, she told me to sweep and dust the grate with no instruction. She just pushed the brush into my hand and left me to work. When she returned, she wasn't happy with what she saw. So she took a rawhide and had me come at it again. No word about what I'd done wrong. I tried my best to collect every piece of dust, even had that thing in my hand dust in my own blood. But when she returned, I picked up that brush once more, and then again. I never cried out once. I wouldn't give Miss Susan satisfaction. And that's how I learned to love the pain. Every time I got hit, I took it as an opportunity for defiance, to not give anyone the reaction they expected. And I thought, maybe that there was freedom. But I couldn't reconcile what something everybody held so precious came from pain. There had to be an easier way to it than that. One morning, Miss Susan and her husband got into an ugly screaming match. Well, they just screaming and screaming. I just wait. My eyes glued on a bowl on the table. You know what was in it? Lumps of pure white sugar. And when Mistress' back was turned, I moved real slow. Reached my hand to that sugar bowl, took just one lump. And that old bat must have heard me because she had the rawhide coming down at me like a storm. But I gave one jump out that door and I flew. I ran and I ran, sugar melting on my tongue. I ran. Nothing ain't taste so good in my life. I didn't have anywhere to go. Ain't know where I was going, but it didn't matter in that moment because I had just stolen what joy I could. And that felt like freedom. Slavery ain't just a sin. It's a state of war. Killing the bodies of others, profiting off the bodies of others, raping the bodies of others. Those are all acts of war. Been that way since the dawn of man. If you don't have it in you to take up arms against injustice, then you gotta pray another prayer, and you gotta walk in it with conviction. You gotta find what it means for you to be a soldier. Beat back those that are trying to kill everything good and right in the world and call it making it great again. There ain't no negotiations on freedom, big or small. 'Cause a country built on bodies will always need more for the slaughter. And if you refuse to see the chains we are wearing, then you're living in a dream. The rest of us are suffering in the real world because of it. When I was asked to speak, I was told all I needed to do was to tell my story. My story ain't over, and it ain't my own. Me, I aim to continue to act.